and welcome to episode 13 of the podcast Through Deep Waters, the Young Nations podcast. Today we have another special guest.
Special guest today.
Going by the name of?
I'm Yousif. I'm their
Yousif
cousin.
Kashif.
Our cousin from our father's side. And
he's actually the official sponsor of this podcast. Are you not?
I guess I
why
am.
couldn't you just build up to it? Like make it more suspenseful and then...
I was excited
Break
to
the
introduce
ice.
our sponsor, bro.
But he is the founder, I guess, of My Meal Diary, the sponsoring application. Before we get into My Meal Diary, I want to talk about you and your build up, your life that made you decide I'm going to make My Meal Diary.
Sure.
So there's a lot that's happened before the app was out, before the development of the app to make it as good as it was. So let's just take it back a few years.
Alrighty.
What did you do for university?
Oh, so I did pre-med in Canada, kinesiology, and it was pretty good. Last year we had a 7-month strike. I think it was the longest strike in Ontario history. And
I remember this.
it was really long. And the second longest in Canadian history. I think the French Canadians had
The
an
whole
even longer
university
one.
shut down.
The whole thing, and there were picket lines outside. Nobody could get in and out. And that was really stressful because that was the year I was applying to med school, and I needed my marks to be back at a certain time so I could give them to the med schools and be accepted and all that. And it looked like that strike had thrown a monkey wrench in it because we didn't know when it was going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 months in, there's no classes and stuff. And I figured, why not learn something new? And I taught myself how to code.
What language did you teach yourself?
I started with Swift. Now I know quite a few. But I was... Actually, no, it was Python at first. A little bit of Python.
I feel like
and Swift.
Python, that's the standard one that everybody teaches themselves first, and then they branch off.
Python is the standard one because it's very easy. So programming languages, there's the object-oriented ones and there's the scripting ones. And the scripting ones are a little like the way we usually read and write. So top to bottom and there's lines and stuff. The object-oriented stuff, it's more like a network where you've got a bunch of stuff and they talk to each other and things don't happen from top to bottom. Things happen when there's a specific event. So if a user touches the screen, go do that thing. If the phone shakes, the thing that handles the phone's shaking will send out a notification to another thing. So it's really complicated, and people tend to stay away from it as their first language because of that amount of difficulty in getting it going. I mean, syntax is just like it's a lot like Java and Python. It's very easy to learn. But either way, we had that strike, and I was God, it was so bad. I was really scared because I had the Mcat coming up. I did the Mcat, did really good on it. Applied to med schools. I was waiting for them to accept me, but they all demanded that I give them my marks back for I forget what term it was, but by a certain time. And it didn't look like I was going to make that deadline because of the strike that was going on.
And they weren't giving any leeway or anything because of the strike.
No
There was
leeway
no
at all.
employees in the office. There was nobody there.
No, there were people there. So there's a
Actually,
there's
I
a,
thought how it worked is like the whole uni was just done.
no, not the whole uni. It doesn't work like
Is
that.
this just York or?
It was just
Yeah,
York.
it was famous even like to a point where when we wanted to go to Toronto from Waterloo, there used to be a Go bus service that ran to York. They stopped it
Oh yeah,
because they couldn't. The transit
reason-
was closed.
The reason for that is because before we get into that, well, there's picket lines. They couldn't actually get into the university. The streets were blocked. But the way it works is in every public university in Canada and the United States, there's a certain number of faculty that is contract faculty. So they get their salary. Their contracts are usually like 3 to 4 years. Some of them are tenured. They have pretty secure jobs. And then there's contract faculty. So teachers and TAs that would be hired on semesterly basis. Okay, and these guys have no job security, and they're the ones that would usually raise a big fuss and do these strikes because, and the whole idea is, get us better benefits, get us more semesters, get some of us tenured, get some of us into actual faculty, and those would be the people doing the strikes. So it was a weird situation where most of my teachers were there, but some of the teachers I needed would not cooperate because they're on strike. And what made it worse is that the university gave them these terms that were, absolutely unrealistic, and that extended it. And it ended, I think, when after the elections happened and the politicians intervened because they didn't want to touch this until the elections were over,
Right.
because it would make them unelectable. So I had nothing better to do, and I taught myself how to code, and And lo and behold, it was one of those things where the more I learned, I got better effortlessly. Like I got stupid good for no reason because people usually study hard to get good, and I just had an intuitive feeling for it.
I think it's also because you enjoyed it.
I do enjoy it.
Like, it's one of those things. If you have fun with it, you can
That's
learn
crazy.
exponentially.
Oh, sure.
If I sit on my computer for longer than 10 minutes, I feel like I want to rip my hair out. And then you have,
Well, I feel the same way if I wasn't coding.
fair enough.
I make most of the apps I use because I can't stand anybody else's.
But okay, so you decided about what, a year in, that you just don't want to do kin anymore. You want to.
Oh, no. So the way it shook out is I taught myself how to code. I fell in love with it. I knew I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. And, strike ended magically. And I got the marks back in time, and I did go to med school. And that whole year in med school, I loved the material they were teaching me. I love biology. I love medicine. I love all that stuff. What I hated is the way the industry is set up, where patients can't get anything done without insurance anymore. Not because the services are so much better than they used to be, but it's simply because the services, their prices has been artificially inflamed to a point where you actually do need insurance to get things done that are not worth the insurance price.
Is that because of stuff like big pharma companies hiking up drug prices and stuff like that?
That plays into it too, but primarily I would say it's because of the workers' unions. The one for medicine is the American Medical Association, the Canadian Medical Association. Every country has got one. And the way they set it up is you can't practice medicine unless you have a medical degree, unless you have done this, that, and the other thing. And realistically, most of these requirements are there not because it gives us quality doctors, but simply because they want to keep the number of doctors practicing in the field low enough for them to be earning a lot of money, because that's just basic supply and demand. You keep the supply a lot shorter than the demand, and these things are going to cost a lot more than they actually are worth.
Right.
So I hated the industry, loved the material, still loved the code, and a year into it, I was so disillusioned because I when you plot ahead your future, like you try to see where you're going to be in 5 years and try to decide whether or not you like where you're going to be in 5 years. I was at a point where I didn't like the trajectory of where things are heading. And at the end of the first year, I took a leave of absence, which I'm still on, but have no intention of going back to.
Wait, so if you were to go back to that uni,
They'd let me back.
They'd let you back?
They'd let me back right now, yeah.
Okay. How many years do you have left in that degree?
This is the last one. If I don't go back by August.
No, but let's
I'm
say
out.
you go back.
Mhm.
How many years do you have to study to then graduate with it?
4
How
more
long
years.
is it? 4 more years?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
There's
either
no
way,
intention.
no intention at all. Because, when I did the leave of absence thing, I could barely code. Like, I knew how to do a loop, I knew how to do a function, I knew how to do an assignment statement. I had no idea if I could do a full app from beginning to the end. I had no idea if I could do a backend. I had no idea if I knew I could design things. And I got really, really lucky on this one. So Google tries to do something, right? They say, we're going to do 10 things. We've got a list of 10 things we're going to do most of the time. And this affects most big companies. They get 7 things done. And I had been lucky enough for, if I say I'm going to do 10 things, I usually get 25 done.
Mm.
It's just one of those weird things. I don't know why, I can't tell you. There's a book that I like called The Mythical Man Month, and it talks about how computer work is a little like surgery, and the more people you throw at the problem, the longer it takes and the worse the problem
Is that because of scale and stuff?
No, I wouldn't put it down to scale. I'd put it down to communication. Scale is part of it, but essentially these things are so intertwined and so complicated that to get another person and to explain things to them and to coordinate your efforts about how to attack a certain problem takes so much more effort and reduces the quality of the work so much that it's just not worth it. So all the best projects in technology had been notoriously understaffed. I mean, if you look at Xerox PARC in the 70s, it was, I think, 8 guys that did the internet, the first object-oriented programming language, the graphical user interface, a bunch of things, laser printing and stuff. It was amazing. So that's how it works. If you want to get something good done, you have a few people that really know what they're doing. But if you want to do a lot of content, it makes sense to throw a lot of people on it. So for marketing, it serves you to work with people and to build bigger teams. But you can't do it for coding because a project would just collapse on itself if you do that. So that's the way it works.
Makes sense.
Interesting.
So then you ended up going from medicine. You take your leave of absence. When you took your leave of absence, you already had an inclination for coding.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I don't think you knew you wanted to make that app, that My Meal Diary app, or you had that objective from then.
There was an app before My Meal Diary app, wasn't there?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Like,
Alright.
walk us through when you
Walk me
took
through
your
the
leave of
process.
absence, why you took your leave of absence, what, like, in terms of what was your thought process? Did you think that, I'm gonna take some time off, or did you think that, this is it, I'm leaving medicine behind forever?
Oh,
Was
I
it
thought
And
it was.
then how
Was
did
it,
your
was it a
interest in-
tactic to get your like if I were you, and I'm absolutely not accusing you of anything, but if I were you, I would have taken the leave of absence to like just to get my parents off my back, knowing that I never planned to go
Well,
back.
there's a little bit of that too. To be perfectly honest, it was so scary when I took it because I had no idea if I could do any of this. Now we're looking back at it, and it's all on the App Store. People are using it and stuff, and it worked out well. At the time, I had no idea if I could do this, and it looked like I couldn't because traditionally these bigger projects are done with teams that are experts that have at least studied the stuff. They didn't teach it themselves in their room. I took the leave of absence thinking, I'm going to try this because I really feel like trying it. I'm probably going to fail and go back. That was what I thought at the time.
But at least to give yourself that opportunity to go try something. Like,
Oh,
say
sure,
you
yeah.
did
I
it.
just wanted the opportunity. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. I honestly didn't. It's not easy work. So it's a plan. The ultimate goal for me is to have a company that produces things like, the iPhone for your medicine, where you could get done most of your health needs on personal devices at home without needing to go to a hospital, and that costs you an arm and a leg.
That goes back to your earlier point of how the prices of services and stuff
Oh no,
like that
it
have
doesn't
been-
correspond to reality. It's
right? So
it's
what you're
sad.
trying to do is you're trying to take your passion for coding plus your discipline in what you were doing before in medicine,
yeah.
combine them to provide a new solution.
Oh, sure, yeah. And again, it's a problem that touches people deeply because, we've all heard the stories where people needed to get something done they couldn't afford to. Or
You know what? This is a great example. My knee, because I had to do a very expensive ACL surgery, which actually, thanks to your dad, was made a lot cheaper.
Yeah, shout out
And
Abu
then,
Khalid.
shout out Abu Khalid. And then we also had a scare last week where I was told I was gonna have to do 2 surgeries, and like just ballpark researching of because I don't have insurance either. Ballpark research of the price of these surgeries. One of the surgeries ranged from 20 to 50,000 American dollars, and like,
it makes no sense.
well, do I look like I have 20 to 50,000 American dollars? Like, I don't have that kind of money. So yeah, but like thankfully we dodged that bullet. I don't need surgery. But like it's so crazy to think like, and bear in mind the cost, like the profit in relation to the cost of each surgery is ridiculous. Like for a surgery that'll like an ACL replacement surgery, if they're taking the graft from my own leg, all the equipment that they're using is the anesthesia. And we paid a boatload of money essentially for anesthesia and a service. You're like, there's no service.
Keep in mind that service, how many years of education have to go.
No,
But
I
that goes
understand.
back.
No, but then again,
Now
that
connecting
service
it-
would be a lot cheaper if you had, 10 doctors in an area competing for your business than just one. There's no excuse for it. Think of the education it takes to make an iPhone, but boy, oh boy, these things get better and cheaper every year. There is no excuse for this. Everything that's good requires an education. And you know what? The people going to the doctors, they work just as hard and they get educated too, and they ought to get value for their money. That's my opinion on this.
Exactly. No, I respect
That's
that
very
opinion.
eye-opening, actually.
I respect that opinion.
That's very eye-opening.
But so essentially like, I guess you maybe in a sense decided to start it off slow with.
Oh,
the
sure,
whole-
yeah. So I didn't know if I could do it, but I knew that Apple's success was largely built on these objects that was created by. So Steve Jobs got kicked out of Apple in the 80s, and he founded this company called Next. And what Next did is they created this object-oriented technology, which actually is still at the heart of every Apple product today. So think watches, phones, you name it, they're using it. And what Next did was create these objects where if you were going to build something, you wouldn't need to build it from the ground up. So if you're going to build a button, you don't have to worry about like everything that goes into a button. You would just get a button and name it and tell it what it does, and that would be it. And this is objects. And for my first project, I knew if I was going to be really good at this, I needed to do an object. And there was this app that I was working on while at med school. I was trying to do research on it. It was gonna, so you show it pictures of people's skin, and it would suggest what kind of skin condition that is. And I really wanted to do that and put it on the App Store, but it turns out it would be regulated as a Class 2 medical device.
What's wrong with that?
It would cost around $100,000 to get approved by the FDA and to publish it in just one country. And that goes back to the reason why medicine is so expensive. It is so expensive to innovate in medicine. You don't need to spend that kind of money to make a new app for shopping or for e-services or websites or whatever, and that's why these industries are more successful and they continually reinvent themselves because they don't require that investment. They don't have these regulatory constraints. But either way, when I was working on those, you would grab a bunch of images of skin conditions, and on the computer I used this really shitty app that ran in Python, and it would take like 3 minutes to set up, and then I would like click once and click another time on an image to highlight where skin condition is, and you couldn't delete. It was really bad. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could just do this by touch or my Apple Pencil on the iPad? So my first app ever was to try to build an object that I could reuse, and that object would be like a touch screen, because Apple has objects within their APIs for showing images, but they don't have objects where you could touch an image and it would tell you where you touch that image relative to that image's dimensions.
So what that mean?
That means you could annotate images for machine learning projects. So if you're doing a self-driving car, you could just highlight where the stop signs are. And it'll take that, it'll convert it to a format that you could feed into an algorithm and teach it. Mm-hmm. All right?
Oh, so it just starts detecting stop signs, for example?
Yes, okay. But to give that information to an algorithm, it needs to be formatted specifically. Okay. And that's the first app I made. It's to prepare these data sets.
How did that app do, like commercially?
Decent. But it's a small market. It's a very, very small market.
Okay. Is it still up?
It's still up, yeah.
What's it called? I'm going to download it right now.
It's called Touch Annotator.
Touch Annotator. I have heard of this. No, like from my dad.
Right.
Yeah, so my dad works with Yousif a lot on his like projects and applications and stuff. So like we'll hear here and there like, oh, Yousif started this avenue or that avenue of especially since you got into tech. He's been on your team 100%.
We interrupt this program. Zaid, do you care about life?
No, he needs to tell us.
Wait, we're promoting.
Yeah, where is this going, you guys?
Hold on. Just hold on.
Okay.
Do you care about life?
I do.
Do you want to live longer?
I do.
Do you care about life?
I suppose I do, as much as anybody else.
And you want to live longer?
I said step away from
and you want to be healthier in your life and in your daily living, I'm assuming?
Is this going where I think it's going?
This is going where you think it's going. Download My Meal Diary if you have the slightest care for your life or the lives of your
It's a little dramatic.
The lives of your loved ones. If you don't download My Meal Diary,
we will kidnap your kids.
We will kidnap your kids and kill your family.
Oh my God.
I'm begging you. Go easy on
me. Sorry. No, but seriously, we're gonna have a quick foundation teaching of
as
My
much
Meal
as
Diary.
we promote the sponsor and the app, we can't do it as good as the creator of the app itself.
All right, so I'll tell you guys what the idea is.
Sponsor break, sell the app, sell your app.
All right, well, there's no better marketing than education, so I'll just tell you the story of how it came about.
Let's go.
After I finished Touch Annotator, I was shocked that I could actually get anything done because, again, no education. I just learned in my room. And I wanted to do something that was equivalent to something that was already successful in the market. And I looked at the health section because that was my background, health and medicine, and everything was abysmal. But the most successful thing on it was MyFitnessPal. And I downloaded and I looked at it, and the UI was pretty dog shit. But what's worse than it is...
You're sending shots today.
Am I allowed to say that?
Say whatever you want, man.
For copyright purposes, it's our fitness buddy. Our fitness friend.
No, you can talk about... It's like saying Nike is a
you can
bad
refer
brand.
to things.
You're not
but
going to
your
get sued for
competitors,
saying
does that not give you problems if you...
No.
We don't bring up your competition names for that reason when we talk about...
Well, it's fine for the purpose of this because you have to tell a story.
Okay, we're telling a story.
Sure. So I looked at it, and beside the UI being really bad and everything, and the fact that they steal all your data, which is horrendous.
They do?
They do. Yeah, they sell your data. That's like a big part of their business.
So many apps do that, by the way.
No, but like MyFitnessPal has a pretty well-established business. They sell who you are, your location. They collect your location and they sell it. They sell what you're eating.
Hold on, I'm just gonna delete my fitness pal from my phone real quick.
They actually do. It's really nasty. You should read their privacy
I only
policy.
even had it downloaded in the first place for market research purposes. I exclusively use My Meal Diary. Thank you.
Of course you do.
It's
Either way,
deleted.
I thought it was pretty weird that it and every competitor app only focused on calories and weight loss, when in fact a lot of people have dietary restrictions. You could think of somebody with a heart condition. They would be not allowed to eat foods with saturated and trans fats, right?
And you know what? I'm gonna interrupt you here. It's so important that you start realizing the difference between weight and health.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because so much, like, and myself included at first before I was
I need to
educated on
remember
this.
this. I need to remind myself of this for sure.
Exactly. Like when I first started trying to lose weight, like the first like 6-7 kilograms I lost, I was just like, I'm just gonna do a calorie deficit. Little did I care about what I'm eating, what is in the food I'm eating,
Right.
the nutritional facts.
And that's a problem with it, because that's not going to make you healthier. And there is this phenomenon called weight cycling, where you kind of put yourself through an ordeal like this, and you focus on a goal that's a bogus goal. And sure, you're losing weight for a little bit, but then, you know, the parts of your brain that control your lower brain are like really small, and eventually the lower parts take control, and you start eating like a pig, and you gain that weight back and then some. And that's called weight cycling. And
Describing the story of my life.
it's a story of a lot of these customers' lives, the ones that use these apps. And because they're not designed with a long-term process in mind. They're usually there to sell, hey, quick weight loss, quick this, quick that. And sure, you might lose some weight quickly. And if you're nuts, you'll stay on them. But then again, like your body, it knows what's healthy for you sometimes. And it does have this insane, like a revenge reaction to it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people gain all that weight back and then some. And, it's really bad. It's weight cycling, and it causes cancer and stuff. It's really unhealthy. And I wanted something that I
So
wanted
if you don't want cancer, sorry.
My Meal Diary, right there.
Yeah, so I wanted something where normal people could use. The UI would be simple enough because I couldn't use MyFitnessPal, and I coded. And I wanted it to be focused not just on weight loss and calorie deficits. It would be worried about things like if you have blood pressure, it'll help you watch your salt. If there's a new goal we just added where if you want to think better, or if you're going with some
Improve your brain capacity, I guess.
sure, brain capacity, whatever. If you're having mental issues like depression and that stuff, a stronger mind and a healthier body usually is. It does much better than any medicine of treating it, because it gives you the capacity and the strength to go after the root causes of the problems that you experience. So we're doing a brain goal right now where it would help you. I forgot what it was.
This is in development right now.
We did it. It's coming out.
Like super new. Like we're privy to that feature, but the update's still coming.
It'll be out by the time the podcast is out. That's
A lot of by the time.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be out in like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
by the time this episode is out, like there's gonna be so many improvements to the already great app that we have
Further
now.
than what is being discussed now, because
Like-
so much can happen in a month and a half.
And Yousif is on his grind. Like he's always working on it. So, but anyways,
He's being managed by my dad currently. They were up until 2 a.m. But bear in mind, my dad is I've never seen him up past like 12:30.
I was surprised to know that because that was the second time in a row.
in a
that he
row,
stayed up with
exactly.
me.
Like what he
And
doesn't.
I
He
just
doesn't
thought
do
that's
this
what he
for
does.
us.
He stays up all night and works like I do.
No,
yeah,
he
my
doesn't do
dad
this for himself or for us.
My dad is determined for the success of this app because he sees the vision with it. So he brings Yousif, he invites Yousif over a lot, and he works him.
Oh yeah, I'm getting worked like a pig.
Yeah.
Well, either way.
Continue about the brain goal.
Oh sure, yeah. So we're doing a brain goal. We're doing an eyes goal where if you want to improve your vision, you eat a lot of vitamin. I think it was vitamin A. We're doing potassium goal. We're doing
Don't
all sorts
fact
of goals.
check just yet.
Don't fact check just yet. See the app. I'm not sure what we're doing.
Fact check the app. Don't fact check his words right now.
But either way, so the whole idea is instead of having this whole app devoted to one goal, it would be you choose your own goals, and it'll give you like a little recommendation, and you can change it if you don't like the numbers it's suggesting, and you can change it down the line if you feel uncomfortable. And it'll give you a breakdown of how you're doing on each goal over time. And the whole purpose of this is to make sure that you're a healthier person the longer you use it, instead of just somebody that lost a stupid amount of weight really fast and then gained it back. So it's about long-term success. And
It
people
gives you a
like
little dopamine too, like when you hit your daily goals.
Mhm.
Let's say you had a daily like a protein goal or something, and you hit it. It's like a little. You want to do better next time.
Oh,
you know?
sure, yeah, it's a little reward. The UI does reward it when you hit a goal, it makes it green and stuff. So
But you know what? It's really refreshing to have like, for example, like corporations like Under Armour who have created MyFitnessPal or Nike or whatever. Okay, sure, they're big sports businesses and what, but they don't care for your health the way you care for the health of the
Because you
users.
come from a medicine background.
oh, sure,
That's the big thing.
And like your whole mission statement is I want people to be healthier for cheaper, right?
yes,
You
and
wanna-
I'd like them to do more of it themselves, because nothing proves success than when you have enough control over a problem where you could affect it yourself and you could change it yourself. We've seen this in computing. I mean, computers were centralized, much like medicine is right now in the 50s, right? And the quality of computing was complete dog shit. The computers were room-sized. You could barely get anything done on them, and it used to be expensive. Fast forward to now, everybody has a number of personal computers. They get more done than anybody in the 50s could have dreamed of. And the reason for that is because the tools have gotten better. So I see myself as somebody that does tools to make these things easy for people to do, and to be able to effectively control their own health. I really care about that.
That's what I like. I'm gonna relate this to myself in an unrelated manner, but I'm gonna go back to my boxing. But because I've had coaches that are like, they'll hold the pads for me, be like, they're just like, yeah, throw 1 2 1 2, and then I've had coaches that like I look into their eyes and I know like all they want is for me to get better. They just want me to like get your first fight, win it, and just keep getting better and better and better. Those are the coaches I connect with, and those are the coaches with which I progress the most.
Right.
It doesn't matter if one is more experienced. Like that other coach that didn't care about me is like an ex-world champion, and that this guy has been boxing for like 3 years. But it's just about like how much you put in, like the energy you put into your customers is really shows on like the product of the service you're providing them.
Right.
You know.
Well,
But
makes sense.
I think that's like it's so great and
Sure,
refreshing to
people
have.
do appreciate an honest effort.
Mm-hmm.
No, for sure.
For sure.
Like, and you can tell in the app that yours is not. You're not trying to gain a formula for quick success.
No,
Right.
no. If I did, I would have shown ads and
quite
sold
the
your data
opposite,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, you made your mission is with this app. You want to make it as easy to use, and within that ease of use, as effective for people.
Oh, sure,
Right?
yeah.
So, and you're like, it's more for you a commitment to innovation and a continued effort. So where these other applications will be happy with the net profit, or will be happy with like, oh, if, as long as this is doing well business side, we're okay leaving it as it is, or we're okay with however it goes. We're not we're not incentivized to add any more features. With you, it's like, no, constantly it's going to be a continuous effort of
Oh, right, because there is
innovation and
well,
features and
I
so on
think
and so
that
forth.
goes back to the fact that there is an end in sight here. For these guys, their end in sight is, their bottom lines. So their efforts are going to be directed primarily towards marketing, because they don't see the value in heavy development. It's expensive, it takes a while, and it fails a lot of the time.
Just watch The Wire there. Don't lose it too much.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Can you still hear
Zaid
me?
is extremely what's the polite way of saying it?
Anal.
Anal about the equipment.
And we're being polite.
Yeah,
but
says
he's-
the guy who was like flicking the microphone earlier. Like,
I was flicking it.
yeah,
It's fun.
you know how much that cost? Actually, that was a gift. I can't say how much that cost.
But no, it's honestly it's good that you're like this, because I'm so the opposite. So it's like it has a nice balance of like extremely strict and extremely I don't care, it's
Fair
like it
enough.
just meets it in the middle. So no, I wouldn't change a thing about it. I just think it's funny.
No,
But
but
yeah.
it's like when you invest in this equipment, now you care about it a little bit. Like, this is what it is.
But it's not just the equipment. He had a basketball that we had for like 4 years, and like every time it touches my leg, Zaid would lose it.
You're not
Don't
supposed
kick
to,
the ball.
You're not
It's
supposed
gonna
to
turn into an oval.
You're not supposed to kick a basketball. It's gonna like mess up the shape.
Really?
Yeah,
Apparently, I
if
don't
you
know,
buy
man.
something, don't you want to keep it in the best shape for the longest time possible?
I've kicked
suppose
every
that's-
There you
basketball
go.
I've
Like,
ever had.
why are you ruining something that you're? Anyway, before you took us on this side tangent, right? So tell us, you're saying the other companies for them have you
Right,
developed
the
an
main topic
expensive-
of this conversation, the
Yeah.
reason I flicked these microphones is because I had a lot of I play drums and I have like a drum microphone setup. And whenever I wanted to test them, those mics only hear drums, like they're so muted. So when I do a sound check, like I can't talk to them. You wouldn't hear anything. So I'd go, flick them to see how if they're picking up
Okay.
sound. So that's why I did this because I thought it worked the same way.
No. These ones, because they're like vocal microphones, they get a little bit more like.
They're a lot more
Oh, it
sensitive.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Makes a lot of sense.
You know?
Well, either way, those other companies. Well, for example, the guys at MyFitnessPal, I'll bet you every dollar I have, which is not a lot, that most of their budget is devoted towards marketing and not developing new features. Because first of all, they don't have like a north star they're heading towards. They're pretty much only in it for the money, and it shows by the way they treat their customers and handle their data. The way it works for me is I'd like it to be as simple as possible to work most of the time, and to keep getting more medically relevant over time. And I'd really like people to be able to do more medicine at home, and not in a scary way that doesn't work, in a way that's so effective that you'd laugh about going to the doctor, kind of like we laugh about going to a payphone today. And
That's a crazy comparison.
well, that's the end game. It's going to be hard.
But can you picture like payphone? Who uses payphones anymore?
Nobody.
Exactly. Remember
Right?
how inconvenient they were.
I don't. I'm.
That's a nice example, by the way. We could do worse ones, but either way, there are things that tech has to do. For example, it has to be like stupid reliable, and towards meeting that, I decided to do the database offline. So when you do a search of a food, it's not sending
In
your
the app.
query
Yeah.
to some server out there, and the server is going to look for it and send it back to you. The way it works is it finds it on your phone. So you can find things even if you're offline, even if you're running low on data. That sort of thing. These little things mean a lot to people. The design is a lot better. I have this rule where you have to be able to add any food in 3 clicks or less. And the reason for that is because, the less clicks, the more the person gets to do this thing fast and have a nice day instead of babysitting this stupid app. You don't want to do that. So you have to think about the end user all the time. You have to think about their experience. You have to think about what they're doing.
See, this is something that I didn't argue with you over it, but I had discussions with you over. So me coming from MyFitnessPal customer, right? Like I'm adjusted with their setup. I know how they work, and their level of detail is a little bit is quite high. So their interface is not good, but they went the other way, and the more you can get more detailed with your goal, with not your goals, but like the way that everything is set up, right?
Right.
So when I asked you about certain features, why you weren't adding, or certain like nuances, let's say, to the interface you weren't adding, and you kept telling me, no, I need to make this easier, I need to make this easier, and I'll go and puzzle me, and I'll be like, no, but you're compromising the overall app. But now it took me like a couple of days. Then I realized, I said, no, you know what? I don't want this app to babysit this app and let this app run me. I want to use this app to my advantage, right?
Well, sure. I think
The best way that I can do that is to save myself the mental strain of having to constantly check and figure out and tap here and tap there and do this and do that on like a more complicated app.
Right.
Rather, I know my goals. I've put my goals in your app. I know what I want. Quick clicks, and this app is now not a minimal part of my day, but it hasn't taken over. You understand?
Right. Oh, sure. And the reason for that is, again, well, there is no right or wrong answer. This is just the target I was aiming for. And I think it was Steve Jobs that said things are packages of emphasis. You could try to emphasize certain things and do them well, but that does come at a cost, where certain other things are not going to be done as well. And in this case, I had elected to do less detailed stuff to make it easier to use for other people.
But do you see why I think eventually everything flips around and goes towards your direction?
Oh, sure, because it's entropy, right?
Yeah, in my example, MyFitnessPal took over my life.
Right.
Everything was MyFitnessPal, and
I can attest to that.
right, like it took over my life. Like I as much as it's good to count calories and it's good to keep track of everything, but at the point where that app gets opened more than any other app on your phone, and so often, and like you're worried about, like, you have to check 4 or 5 different screens before you can be okay about putting in a certain food. Okay, now I'm a bit,
Right.
Rather with my meal diary, I found it so much easier.
There's just one screen you check, and
Yeah.
it tells you how much you got left.
And you have all your core information. It's not like I'm compromising my health,
Right.
but I made my mental health improve. You understand?
I suppose that's a good way of looking at it.
So, like, yeah, I just give you my, like, because as somebody who counts calories and stuff, I give you my experience with it. Give my
It's
take.
fascinating stuff.
And, like, me and you always open. So I know I have input with you to say, oh, what do you think about this and that feature?
Right.
And either you'll tell me, oh, this is a good idea, I should add it, or you'll tell me, no, I don't want to do that, and this is why.
Oh, sure.
But
And
you-
then that's tech work, because it's so hard that you don't just go out and build stuff, right? You have to have a robust debate statement, and you have to be set up in a way where only the good ideas make it to the phase where you're actually coding this stuff and sending it out to customers. And that actually has nothing to do with coding and programming. That goes to more philosophical ideas. You could read Aristotle to figure out which features are better, right? You could read Kant to know that people are ends, not means, and you figure out how to treat them and how to design features for them because you value them in a certain way, right? So if you value people as means of making money, then you're going to design your features in a certain way. If you value them as ends in themselves and you'd like them to do as best as possible, then you're going to go a completely different direction. And that there's nothing wrong with that. It just goes back to philosophy, and it has to do with things like character. It has to do with things like, honor and that sort of thing. And the more you learn about that stuff, the better you become. I think it was Aristotle that said, people that are good at being people, always aim for the middle, and they're better at finding it. Because there are extremes in every situation. And I find it the most fascinating thing that planning has to do a lot more with that sort of stuff than with because I forgot to mention the way I code is completely upside down. Most programming operations we have these 5 technologies, let's go out and make something with them. I start with a sketch. I'd go, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. It would be really nice if it looked like this. And then I'd go and find the technologies and put them together. If they exist, I'd use them. If they existed and weren't any good, I'd make my own. And that's how it's been. And it's been fairly
I
good.
like that approach so much because you're not focusing on using your expertise just to use your expertise. You're focusing on actual tangible things that can be useful for the customer.
Oh, sure,
and
yeah.
you're tailoring your expertise around them, whether you need to learn to make a new object, whether you need to
I'm a complete beginner every time I try to do something.
There you go, right? Like, and you learn, and that
Keeps you sharp.
It does a world of good for your capabilities, and does a world of good for the service that you provide itself.
Right.
Right? Like, it's a more. I think that's another innovative way to look at it. That's how most innovators, problem solvers, look at the thing. They don't look at what can I do to offer. They look at what's the problem. What can I learn to then solve this problem?
Oh, sure, and it's not easy. You have to pay for it with nerves, but it's worth it in the end.
I want to talk about, because you were talking about like, oh, if the object is not good or doesn't exist, I'll make one.
Yeah.
And you did that with affiliate.
Oh yeah.
And by the way,
This is how we have our promo code.
affiliate is like so like even to us like the way we speak about it, it's so underrated because it's such a huge thing.
I built it and I can't believe it exists.
It's before like we big it up, let's talk about what it is. What is
Sure,
it?
yeah, I'll tell you the story of the problem.
Before you say what it is, what was the problem and then how did you
The
solve
problem
it?
I had is I had built these 2 really good apps by anybody's review, but it wasn't getting enough downloads in dollars because I hadn't done any marketing yet. And I was disillusioned with the current marketing infrastructure available to me as a developer of an application. So the way you'd do it is you'd either go with Facebook ads or Google ads, and you'd pay for clicks or for views. And that wasn't doing it for me because you weren't paying for actual success, right? And success in here, it's defined as an actual in-app purchase event. Plus, you don't only get people from digital ads, right? You get people by word of mouth. They tell each other things. You get people if you put up a banner somewhere, a physical banner. You get people if you run an ad on TV. These ways are impossible to track, right? Mm-hmm. The only way that's trackable, to a certain degree, I mean, Facebook tells you they're good at tracking. They're not good at tracking. All their stuff is estimations. They have to have, the user has to have.
You're getting the inside scoop today on all these major corporations and how they're all bogus.
Well, I wouldn't say bogus. I mean, they do try hard, but their way of going about things, because they're so big, is kind of like, money on. They napalm a problem, and their solutions are so crude and unrefined that they hardly solve the problem. So
isn't that to do with like if you have a lot of resources, you don't really get creative with your solution? So even Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark, man, just say Mark.
No, I got this. Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg. Even him, when he was like in the Harvard dorms and stuff, making Facebook, I'm sure he was way more innovative about what he was doing than now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, now, like you said, just napalm the problem. Money, see what happens, and whatever comes out, as long as it somewhat solves the problem based on the resources that we threw at it.
Right, and you'd be shocked by how much more resources they threw at a problem than it actually needed.
Mm-hmm.
And how unsophisticated the solution they come up with was. Their idea is usually servers, really costly, barely works. We've all used Facebook, it's unreliable. So I wanted a way to be able to track a user from them seeing the ad to download and to the actual in-app purchase. But here's the kicker, without violating their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the way I figured out how to do it is, I'm not going to track users. I'm going to track promo codes. Okay? Where the way Facebook does it is, if you have any Facebook apps on your phone, so Instagram, WhatsApp, you name it, the way it works is you download this app that has Facebook's identifier for advertising. I think they call it Pixel or something. When it gets downloaded, it sends out a notification to other Facebook services on the device. And then these Facebook services send it to Facebook, and then they would count you as a download.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it's incredibly unreliable. And obviously, you're losing your privacy. Imagine you download an app, like a fitness app. Not only does it report to the advertisers that you got, it tells Facebook that you're interested in that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they start targeting your ads.
Can I say something crazy?
differently.
Sometimes, I don't remember who told me this, but one of my friends has a friend that works in like an advertising type agency, and they have access to this kind of data.
Zach.
Right? And his friend told, like, they even track your travel patterns in relation to what you view online.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you catch the bus and on the bus you look at cat videos, you just enjoy looking at, I don't know, cat videos on your bus. I don't look at cat videos, like, I don't know, but it's just an example. Like, they will start targeting on you that, every day at 3 to 4, Zaid goes home from work on the bus, right? That's the time, and he goes on Instagram. Push cat advertisements towards him.
And you know what?
Like, it's
all of that
how
would
crazy
be,
is that? They're checking your time. They're checking for when you're, right? Like,
all of that would be kind of bad if they didn't know who you are. But the problem is they know who you are. They know what your face looks like. They've got algorithms that they've trained towards your face. They know your name. They know where you live. They know your habits. And they know how to target you with ads. And that's horrible, ethically. It's really bad. The way I wanted it to work is, I said, forget who the user is. I really don't care who it is. What I'd like to know is, if there's a download, was there an in-app purchase from that download? Which promo code got it? That's all I'd like to know. So I actually never, ever find out who the user is. I only find out whether or not they interacted with the app in the ways that I'd wanted them to interact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely private. It's anonymous. I have no idea who the people getting it are. But at the same time, I get relevant information to pay my marketers. And I wanted a way for people to help me with marketing. But I didn't have a big budget at the time to pay for these enormous Facebook marketing campaigns, which would be costly and ineffective. And I thought, well, you could imagine like a gym would try to sell this to their subscribers at the gym, and the gym could earn like 20-30% from it, right? You can't do that with the current marketing tools. I had to build my own tool, and it works with promo code, it will work with NFC tag, it works with URLs. It's really nice.
NFC is a barcode, right?
no, it's like
NFC is when you put your phone on something.
Yeah.
Oh, like the Apple Pay.
like Apple Pay.
Okay.
Exactly
Basically.
like Apple Pay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I don't know if you've ever, like in Canada, sometimes when I want to load my Presto card,
Yeah.
I load it with NFC. So I put my credit card details in the phone, tap my card on the phone, and it loads.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's
So
really
that-
cool.
That's
NFC,
crazy.
like it's a lifesaver for me. Like I've so many times running late to the bus, tap the card on my phone.
I'm
and
just
get on the
saying,
bus.
I work for the people that load up said bus card. So why don't you just come to me maybe, and I could even give you a discount.
You're far. You're all the way in student center.
And he just uses his NFC. Astaghfirullah.
What a waste of money.
What a waste. But yeah, you're on the road. I didn't mean to stop you.
What was I saying?
So it's
talking
gonna
about
work with
how-
NFC. It works with URL. It works with.
Oh, sure. And actually, that surprisingly put me in a technical jam because there was no way for you. So if you, there is this thing called deep links. So if you get a YouTube link and you touch it, it'll take you to the YouTube app and it will show you the video and the link, right?
Yeah.
But if you didn't have the app, it would take you to the App Store. You would download the app, and then it wouldn't know you anymore. So you'd have to go back, click the link, and it would take you to YouTube. And it's too many steps. I wanted to be able to get it all done in one step, so the people would not lose their customers. And I ended up finding this technology called App Clips, and it's really cool because you can, when they click the link, you could show them the relevant experience, even if they don't have the app. And this is a very good idea because it makes it easier for them, and they get to experience the thing that you want them to experience right away. And if they like it, they could download the app. And the advantage, the added advantage of this is it keeps a reference to the promo code that got them through the app clip. And if they get the full app, it'll just tell the full app, hey, this is the promo code that they used. So it's a way to be able to know about these download and purchase events while maintaining full user privacy. And user privacy matters a lot because on my meal diary, I don't collect what people are eating. I don't collect their goals. I have no idea about any of these. I only collect search terms because I'd like to see what people are searching for so I can improve their databases. And it's completely anonymous. So I don't know if you searched for something. There's
You just know that it's been searched for.
there's no
Like
account.
banana has been searched 30 times
Yes,
out of a total of like 300 customers, let's say.
sure. It's more than that. But
No, it's the
just
number
had to
that
let him know.
flex on them, bro. Flex on it.
So, and the reason this is good is because, again, user privacy. Now there's regulation in Europe and the United States and stuff that says if you're storing personal users' data, you have to do this and that and the other thing, and it's getting regulated like medicine. You save yourself a world of headaches if you just completely ignore that stuff and say, hey, I'm not going to care who the user is. I'm just going to help them have a good user experience. It's kind of like what Ronald Reagan said, that the moral way of doing things is actually the practical way of doing things. It's fascinating. And it's like that in most things in life.
Now we're quoting Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Ouch. No, but the point makes sense. That point 100% makes sense. Like, I think there's a lot of value in that. And maybe if you found it to be that, like, easier to go down that way of...
Well, then again,
moral-
it's not easier. It's one of those things where
But see, you said it saves
It's-
you the headache of
it-
having to deal
it's
with
harder.
the regulation.
it's harder. You have to pay an upfront price. But down the line, you're better off. The less moral way is it's much easier to do these things wrong at first, but then you have to keep paying for it, forever, because you have to go back and fix what you did in the past. So it's more like, hey, do you want to really exhaust yourself now to make sure you're better off in the future, or do you want to just take the easy way now and who knows what happens in the future? It's kind of like that.
Right. No, and what I mean is you saw the benefit in this approach regardless of morality. It was practical to you in terms of your goals long term.
Oh no, I didn't know it was practical.
No, but it is though, right? Like, all I'm saying is if that's the case, maybe other developers will see the benefit in taking this privacy oriented approach.
Oh, but generally they won't. Is
You don't think
because
so?
they sell data. It's lucrative business.
Oh, but that was my hope. You see, like, that hopefully, like,
They won't.
So down.
They won't because
But
most of these applications are not only in the selling you a subscription business, they're also in the selling your data business. Some of them don't even offer subscriptions because they're exclusively in the
They
selling
just
your
want your
data
data.
business.
Yeah.
Who explained this to me? My friend Sharif. Shout out Sharif. He told me this. I was trying to figure out a website for our podcast. So I told him I wanted to do like a website, and he does coding as well. So he was like, I'll make you the website, whatever. You just have to pay for a domain name. I told him, listen, I don't want to pay for a domain name. The podcast is not making money. It doesn't make sense for me to buy the website when Buzzsprout, the hosting service that we use, offers me a free website, right? It's like not as good, but I wanted to upgrade it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he told me, he said, oh, but how do you expect to get a free website? I said, what if
It's not free. You're just paying a different way.
Well, that's what I said. I said, what if I use a website maker like Wix or WordPress or something like that, or Webs? Shout out Webs is the one I used to use before. He said those websites are not free. I said, what do you mean? He said they sell your data.
Right.
They sell everything. The way you pay for it is you pay through data.
Right.
They give you a worse service at a worse like internet speed for free, and you have no privacy with them.
Right.
Better to do your own thing.
Oh, sure.
Right?
I fully
So
agree with that
that's where I
sentiment.
first encountered that issue of like in a practical sense, the data privacy issue where I was worried about going and doing something and then I had to rethink it because of data privacy concerns.
Right.
So I have a question. So I think it's safe to say, like, not to insult you, but you haven't yet
By all means, please insult me.
you haven't yet achieved financial success. I
No,
think actually it's
not
an
even
insult at
close.
all because you have so much. Your ceiling is so high.
Right.
But I think you've achieved success nonetheless, because you're a pioneer with affiliate, and even with My Meal Diary, because you're doing that different, and you've produced.
Right.
While you may not have had the downloads, you've produced something that
Downloads we're not saying he doesn't have downloads. We're saying he doesn't have as
like
many
the
downloads as
thousands
like
and millions of
My
downloads.
Fitness Pal or Yazio or something, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, like while you're not on that like commercial stage yet, do you still feel like you're successful? Like that you've
Yes.
reached success?
So here's the thing. Again, when I left medicine, I thought I was going to fail and go back within 6 months because I thought I couldn't do the technology part.
Mhm.
Okay? And in honesty, I have not tried to do anything else until now. Up until this point, I had exclusively been trying to figure out these technical problems, these design problems, and I put it down to luck. I have no idea why I had been able to achieve each and every one of these things I attempted to achieve, including the database. I had this problem where I used to call this USDA database to get food details to show to people.
Mhm.
And I woke up one day and it was down, and I was freaking out because I had no idea how to make a database. It was really scary. But then their service being down had forced my hand. I could either go out and rent a database, kind of like my Fitness Pal does. But to do that, you have to have users make accounts. You have to send them their IP addresses. You have to send them their locations. You have to send them their use patterns. You have to send them the foods they save. It's insane what you have to give them beside the rent on the database to have the users use their stuff. And I just couldn't do that. I couldn't swallow that pill. So what I did is I kind of took a breath and I said, I'm going to make my own database. And it was one of those things where I had absolutely no idea if I could. Chances were I couldn't.
But you did.
I did, and it's amazing. So if anybody searches on my app now, all their foods are being fetched offline.
Mhm.
And this is like a feat of engineering, especially the way I did it, because there's an industry standard way of doing it, which is really slow and it has them wait a long time the first time they open the app. And there's the insane way I did it, which is coincidentally the same way Apple does. When you go to the settings app and you go to wallpapers and you see those pictures, they do this like magic trick where they swap an empty database with a full one when you launch the app for the first time. This is the way I did it. And nobody does it like that anymore. So I got really lucky with it, technically. Now, the last few weeks have been my first time ever attempting to do marketing. And it had been good. It's still early to say whether or not I had been successful at it, but fingers crossed. I'm doing it with the same kind of attention to detail and devotion that I had put myself through when I was building the technical features. But yeah, financially it hasn't been a success. But you know what? That's the reason I wake up in the morning every day and I read and I work hard, because I haven't solved all the problems. I had been extremely lucky. The technical stuff is on autopilot right now.
But I wouldn't say it's luck. Like
It's hard work, and it's a testament to your ability to figure out problems and switch fields.
Who
I
knows?
think technically, like in the technical aspect, the way the app is, you've hit your success, because the way the app is, it's a professional application.
Oh, sure. It looks like it was made
done
by
by an
somebody else.
independent developer.
It's
Exactly.
not like this is a crazy app. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Every episode, download this app. You know what I mean?
Like we're not even just saying it for the sake of promotion. Like
You know.
But download My Meal Diary if you care about your health and your life.
And your
But we're
children.
not saying it for promotion. But
Right.
no, I think it just goes to show like the cliche saying of like you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Oh,
But
sure.
it also goes to show that so many people just don't put their mind to things. Like
Well, you can put your mind to it, but it's kind of like you have to put your mind, body, and soul because it is
Exactly.
stressful, and some people tap
Exactly.
out. Like there were so many times where, when I was doing the database, I did the database, I created it. I could not jam it into the app the way I wanted to do it, which is the way I told you now. The thing they did with settings.
yeah.
I couldn't, and I remember like one time I had been up for 3 days straight with no sleep, and I had this nightmare. Have you guys seen Patton the movie?
No.
No.
Oh, it's really
The
good.
viewer may have seen it, but we haven't seen
All right, it's about General Patton in World War II, and he had this thing where he hated cowards, hated people that ran away from
Oh,
battle.
you told me or showed me a bit of this. I'm not sure.
All right, well, he's a general. He's really successful. They're fighting the Germans, and he goes to visit one.
Oh,
of
you
those-
told me this story actually. Yeah, I know the
Right,
story. I
okay.
continue.
He visits one of those military tents, and he sees a bunch of soldiers, wounded. One guy has his leg chopped off. The other guy has no eye. And he's there, and he's like shaking their hands and congratulating them for their bravery and giving them medals and stuff. And he sees one soldier sitting on the ground crying, and he goes, "What's your problem?" And he goes, "It's my nerves, sir. It's my nerves." And I think he takes his gloves off and slaps him with it, and he tries to shoot him and stuff. And it happened in real life. He got demoted because of it. But I actually had a nightmare where I was that guy who was scared, and General Patton was yelling at me and calling me a yellow belly and a coward because I couldn't do it. And I woke up, and actually 1 hour after waking up, I figured it out. So it was one of
That's
those things.
crazy.
When I tell you this, exactly, it's nuts. It gives you a glimpse into the stress you're under when you're trying
But
to
yeah,
do
but
these things.
it's also your own. This is how independent you are. Is that when you had no one to motivate you,
General
you
Patton
motivated
yelled at
yourself. Like it's just
Shout out General Patton.
shout out General.
Good
But it
guy.
was- I guess you were maybe so close to the finish line without even seeing it that dream was your mind telling you like, bro, just like 3 more steps, you're almost there.
Oh,
Because
sure.
you figured it out an hour later, right?
Oh yeah, an hour
Like,
later.
I find
But it
that
was so
ridiculous.
scary. Like I was shivering in the dream, and it's because of the stress you're under when you're doing these things. You're usually first to do something. There's no one to call and ask for advice. And because you're first, there's the pressure of I have to do it right, because if I screw this up, it's going to be up for everybody to see. Anybody could download your work and see how crap it is. It's not like a paper that is just going to get put through a Turnitin, and it doesn't matter how good it is. So there is that,
Turnitin is the plagiarism detection
Everybody our
software.
age knows what Turnitin is.
No,
Everybody
I feel
our
like it's a
age.
Canada thing.
No, bro, we used it in school here. Everybody our age knows Turnitin.
My bad. I was just trying to give clarity.
But
If you
yeah,
don't know what Turnitin is and you didn't hear me explain, take it up with him. It's not my problem.
we're not explaining Turnitin on this episode. But bro, here's like a moral of the whole episode that I want to preach is that and I spoke about this on the episode we did with careers. Sometimes you just have to take the leap.
oh sure.
Like just ignore every warning sign in your head that's telling you this is a bad idea. If you have a passion for something, take the leap. Because look at this. Zero education, like
Zero education. We found them in the streets eating bugs.
zero. Sorry, let me rephrase. Zero post-secondary education on the matter of coding, and look at where he is now. Like it's so crazy to see that if you have a dream, it's not just a matter of take the leap. It's also a matter of take the leap and actually like get your hands dirty, like get in
Really
there,
dirty, yeah.
like, really dirty.
I'll
Don't
emphasize-
shower for
I'll-
3 weeks.
I'll emphasize, like, none of these people, it's everybody that we've had on this podcast, none of us, whether it's my cousin Hussein, whether it's you, Yousif, anybody that's been on here talking about their career or talking about their achievement, none of us have hit success in terms of what success is in our minds.
Sure.
Right? So we have to still achieve financial independence. You still have, like, the people who are innovating at our age, they still have to achieve financial stability. They still have to achieve
struggled
worldwide
with that word,
commercial.
didn't
Huh?
You really struggled with that word. Financial.
Bro, today I just have a word problem. Zuckerberg financial.
It's that hat. It's clouding your judgment.
I can't take off this hat.
Okay.
It's been mandated. I have to wear a hat on this podcast.
All right.
I can't say why.
Why?
I can't say why. But
Tell you off screen.
but yeah. So you haven't achieved financial stability. You haven't achieved the commercial reach
You're a
that you
failure.
wanted. No. But
Fucking broke, dude.
no, what I'm trying to say is like as much as we have challenged societal norms, we still have a lot to do, and it's a testament to that drive that you don't just go half the way and be satisfied that you went half the way. I don't see that in you.
You know, it's
wanna go the
fascinating.
full
I
way.
actually have devoted a fair amount of thought to that, and a lot of thought, because going out and getting your independence is a much, much different thing than trying to create a stable thing. And I like history a lot, as you guys might have noticed by now. And,
What?
That makes two of us.
my favorite moment in history, like my favorite event, is the American Revolution, because it was a group of guys, so you know, Washington, Jefferson, Adams, and the boys.
Boys.
They did this amazing thing. They were a small army of farmers and no good fuck ups, and they beat the English and they kicked them out. So kind of like this, where you did something that's amazing, but then
You don't have to go to America to look at that. Go look at your home country, bro.
no, but here's the thing: America is unique because of what they did after that.
He's a huge America advocate.
No, they're amazing. You guys should read about them. They're an amazing group of people. So after they got their independence from England, it was a little bit chaotic. There was no stability, kind of like on a personal level what we might feel now. And the way they handled it is amazing, because most revolutions, so if you look at the French Revolution, after they fought the wars and won the wars, they never lost the war mindset. And look what Napoleon did, and that didn't end too well for him. You could say that about just about every revolution. The Russian Revolution, all of them end the same way. The only one that was weird is the American one, because after they beat the English, they stopped. They forgot war. George Washington went home. He didn't want to be president. And there was this like 5-year period of nothing, okay, where they were assessing the situation, and they picked up the pieces. And what they ended up doing was far more stable than fighting a revolution, which is what they did with their constitutional convention and actually putting the federal government into effect. It was so different from fighting a revolution.
Can I say, like, and as much as this is not a commentary on how America is now, but just with the founding fathers that they were able to create those systems, because if you look at historical figures like in China and Russia, like you said,
They
and
were bloody.
and
Look
in
what Mao
France,
did. He killed 40 million people.
Before
and
all
it
that,
was still a failure.
Before all that, right? Like, when they first start, it's funny because I don't know much about the American Revolution. And what you just told me, you're like, oh, George Washington went home. He didn't want to be president.
Oh,
right?
it's a fascinating story. Let me tell you about it.
But before you go into it,
Okay.
like, do you know how crazy that sounds? Like, it just takes in that foundation of faith someone to be a little less selfish.
Oh, sure.
You understand? Like,
Washington
Mao,
redefined greatness. It wasn't about clinging back to power. It was about getting rid of power. He completely flipped it.
Mao, Stalin. Now I don't know about like Lenin died too early for us to really.
Right.
be-
Well, Stalin was
Stalin
an
is the one
extension of
who-
Lenin.
Who took the reins after that, right? Mao, Stalin, Napoleon, right? All these guys, like,
They clung.
they
Saddam,
continued.
Mubarak, they all did it.
Right.
It's
They
the way
con-
revolutions work. They stick to power.
They continued, but it's not only that. It's they continued their revolution mindset, because it's like, for me to have power, I need to be having the people riled up all the time.
Oh, sure, yeah. And
Right?
it used
Look
to
at
be
the
enemies on the...
Mao's the biggest example. Mao had a state of continuous revolution.
Right.
The Chinese Communist Party took power in 46, I think, or something like that. In 1976, there was the Cultural Revolution.
I'm gonna take action here for a second.
What?
This is becoming a little too historical.
No,
just
it
listen.
needs to be like this.
Okay.
I would argue that history is very good for people our age, because it is an hyper-exaggerated example of things we all experience. And on our personal level, they might be hard to notice and try to amend. But because history is so long and so big, you could actually learn from it. That's my opinion on this.
Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't. I'm on a podcast, but I'm not listening.
All right. So the reason I'm talking, so they were, because they were all students of history. They recognized that revolutions that go on forever end up in disaster. Julius Caesar, you name it. There's so many examples. George Washington gave up control of the army and went home, and people's minds were blown. The King of England said if he was actually going to do that, he would be the greatest man alive, and they told him he did it, and he couldn't believe it. That's how big that event was. It's kind of like when the iPhone got announced in 2007. People were shocked. They just couldn't believe it when it happened. And because the guy that won the war wasn't dictator, there was a little bit of chaos. There were 13 states. The government on top of them was barely a government. And there was a lot of chaos. For example, one of the states passed a law that said all debt is illegal now. So everybody that's taken out a debt to buy a house, a farm, or something, you're off the hook. And that's unfair to the people that loaned out the debts, right? To the lenders.
I've heard about this.
Right. So what they noticed is they had set up a democracy that was too insensitive to the rights of minorities. Okay? And the stroke of genius, which is the Constitutional Convention, so they all go into this room and they spend the whole summer in it arguing about how to set up a government. And what they end up with is the federal government of the United States that's still in operation after over 200 years. And there's a lot to be learned from it because they set it up in a way where you can't get anything done without the consent of the other branches. For example, in their constitution, it says that there has to be elections every 4 years. Okay? So if Congress says, no more elections, we're just happy, we're really happy with this group of people, let's just stick around, which has happened in many countries. I think Russia did it recently when they let Putin be president for life. I think it was China.
They let him switch with his boy. Medvedev, I think it's called.
Oh,
They
yeah.
let him switch.
Sure.
He was president, prime minister, swap.
They used to switch a lot, but I
Yeah.
don't think they need to anymore.
Now they don't need to, but that was so hilarious to me.
So Washington would say these are the customary means by which free governments are destroyed. That's an actual quote from his farewell address. So you start changing the constitution. So the way they set it up is, you want to pass a law, you have to get the president to approve it, and it has to be within the rules of the game. Okay? And it's so constrictive, it's so hard to get anything done, but it makes sure only good things get done. So when the Nazis had this thing where they killed the Jews in the 40s, there was a similar movement in America, but it never made it all the way through Congress. And that's why the rights of these minorities were maintained.
Or like anti-Jewish movements?
Sure, yeah.
In America?
Yeah, they had big ones.
But you could also say like American government, although maybe not through legislation, but they did empower a lot of minority or like racist groups, minority targeting groups like KKK and stuff like that. Okay.
So, to kind of bring things to a close, we're gonna ask you for a little summary. I'm gonna time you actually.
You love doing this trick of telling people that you're gonna time them, but you never really time them.
No, I'm timing. Look, I've got the timer app right here. I'm gonna time you. You have 30 seconds
To what?
to sell the shit out of My Meal Diary.
Oh,
Ready?
sure.
We're gonna, because he said he didn't focus on marketing, so this is good practice.
3,
Sell the marketing.
2, 1, go.
All right, get it because it's not helping me, it's not helping them. Get it because it'll help you help yourself. And that's the most valuable thing anybody could give you because it gives you independence, it gives you control over the stuff that you want to do and not what somebody else decided for you. So, if you want to be a free and independent person, worthy of honor and respect, get the app.
You know what? You did that in 26 seconds as well. And I'm gonna give you a quote here. Feel free to use this and make this the slogan of your.
All right,
of
I'm
your
excited
business.
for it.
My Fitness
If
Pal.
if this is a failure, Hussein,
My Fitness Pal gives you milk. My Meal Diary gives you the whole fucking cow.
Oh wow. Okay.
Come on. Tell me I'm not a business-minded individual.
That's like some chicken, some neck.
Some chicken, some neck. Call me Winston Hussein Cho.
I actually fuck with that one. I fuck with that one
thank
heavy.
you.
That was nice.
But yeah, man, just please, how about this, viewers? Download. So there's a free trial of My Meal Diary. You don't even.
Oh
have
yeah,
to,
they could get it for free.
Yeah, you don't even have to buy it. Download it.
But get it
try
through their
out.
promo code because the UI is really nice.
Yeah.
If you just download it through the App Store, it's not fun. If you get it
Code-
through a promo code, there's a little app clip that comes up. It's super fun. So I recommend you use
Code
it.
QR
Deep
code
waters.
is somewhere on the screen. I don't know where it's gonna be exactly, but it's gonna be somewhere in the area.
You think you're slick. You think you're slick. Mama does this every episode. She tries to just take her hand out the corner and take like a picture or a video of us, and she thinks we never notice. I notice every time. Mama, do you want to come say hi? Why? Mama's shy. She doesn't want to say hi. But regardless, Yousif, when we close every episode, we
QR
ask
code. Don't forget.
QR code. We ask every guest to give one piece of advice to the audience. It could be anything we spoke about today. Just one piece of advice. Just look into the camera and do your thing.
Take
All right.
away.
Go with your gut. if everybody's telling you you're wrong, but you just know you're right about something, see where that goes. Tends to kill you on the inside if you don't, in my experience. Yeah.
Preach.
Be
Preach.
brave.
I love that.
Courage.
That's powerful. And
I love that.
you know, like
Short and sweet as well.
yeah, and it's not unique to you because we definitely have people on the podcast before who had shared the same type of message, right? So you know this is universal. So if you feel like there's something that you can offer, go and try to give it your best shot, you know, and see where it go.
But yeah, Yousif, man, it's been a pleasure. A very informative podcast, especially for
Thank you for
an
having me, boys.
unintellectual like myself. So I really enjoyed this.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
we hope to be back in 2 weeks again. And we'll see you
100%.
guys later. Post for
Before
the
we
thumbnail,
go,
everyone.
post for the thumbnail of the YouTube video one time. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Through Deep Waters, the Young Nations podcast.
Have a good evening
And
or
we
night
out.
or morning, whatever it may be. If you're eating breakfast or lunch or dinner, and I hope you're enjoying that. And if you're not
You have a
eating,
lovely day.
and if you're not eating, I hope you eat. And
Yeah,
bye.
we out.
Bye.